This sample is outrageous.
Hi, everybody. This is David Gregory. Ahead of the all-important New York primary, I had a chance to sit down with Mitt Romney, former governor of Massachusetts and presidential candidate, an important voice in the Republican Party, and an outspoken critic, as you know, of Donald Trump as he pursues the nomination and the presidency. I had a chance to talk to Governor Romney about more than just his concern for the Republican Party, but how he sees the rest of the primary season playing out, whether he thinks that Donald Trump is on a path to actually get the nomination on the first ballot, or whether we are headed for what everybody thinks is an open, contested convention. Here's a bit of my interview. Do you think that we're headed on the Republican side to an open convention, what people call a contested convention? Do you think that's where it's all headed?
You know, I think that depends on whether or not Mr. Cruz and Mr. Kasich both stay in the race aggressively through California. If they're both going at it aggressively right until the very end, then I think it's very likely that Mr. Trump wins on the first ballot. And I say that because I think Cruz and Kasich divide the vote, if you will, and that would make it easier for Mr. Trump to win the winner-take-all congressional districts and the winner-take-all states and get the delegates he needs, either to reach the 1237 or to get close enough to it that he could persuade the uncommitted delegates that he'd need to get the victory on the first ballot. On the other hand, if either Mr. Cruz or Mr. Kasich decides to become inactive, if you will, after New York, then I think it's likely we get to a contested convention. And at that point, the bets are it's going to be Cruz, Kasich, or Trump. Hard to figure out which one would ultimately be able to put together the coalition necessary to get the majority. And if it remains three candidates, I think Mr. Trump gets it on the first ballot.
Yeah, that's interesting because everybody keeps focusing on 1237 as the magic number. But there's a lot of people who do the math on the back of an envelope and see him getting close. And if he's close, he certainly has the ability to work it a little bit, right? And get some delegates to come his way.
That's the nature of the process. And my guess is some delegates might like to fly around on Air Trump or perhaps get a membership to Mar-a-Lago. I think there's a lot of way to be persuasive on the part of the people who are close. And there will be quite a few uncommitted delegates that go to Cleveland, and being able to pick off 50 or 100 of them is probably not beyond the possibility of a strong campaign. So if Mr. Trump or Mr. Cruz, for that matter, got close enough, why I think they might be able to get the job done on the first ballot.
What about the argument, and you're hearing this on the right, of course, Trump is making it, but you hear it on the left as well, that there's something inherently undemocratic about the delegate selection process. We haven't really focused on it because we haven't been in a situation for so long where we've had an open convention. Do you think there's any merit to that? Do you think that the party needs to take a look at it?
Well, actually, at this stage, of course, the rules are the rules, and the party put those rules out, over a year ago, let all the candidates know exactly what was going to be happening. And they're very similar to the rules that existed at the time I was running 4 years ago. And campaigns have to be able to navigate those rules. And by the way, there's probably nothing wrong with making it difficult. After all, these rules are a lot simpler than the rules of foreign affairs, for instance, or the rules of our economy. And if you want to be president, you're going to have to deal with things far more complicated than Republican delegate rules.
You were outspoken in coming out and criticizing Donald Trump as dangerous for the country, bad for the party, and just wrong, taking on his business record, doing things and saying things that the other candidates, certainly up until that point, had not been doing. And yet there was some of the reaction to what you said was that, wow, it only reinforces Trump's support, that it was seen as kind of the elites of the party, opposing him, and that only reinforced his brand. Do you think it helped or hurt you coming out in such a public way?
I don't know what influence my comments had. I think it probably had an influence in the state of Utah where I gave the address. I saw there that Mr. Trump came in third, and all of the delegates, I believe, or almost all, were awarded to someone else. So that was positive. But what the overall effect would be, I don't know. But at some point, you do what you think is absolutely right, and I simply could not stand by and say nothing about a candidate who I thought was taking the party and potentially the country in a very unfortunate direction. So I said what I believed, and that may not make me real popular in a lot of corners, but frankly, the worst thing that could possibly happen to me politically has already happened. So I'm not going to worry about that very much.